Being able to do 193 miles an hour makes this the fastest SUV in the world. It's got big power, a super tiny 0 to 62 time, and it's an Aston Martin. The DBX707 might seem a little incongruous, but it marks the start of big change. The DBX came out in 2020 and managed to blend Aston Martin luxury with an SUV. Funnily enough, the DBX went down rather well with buyers who like their Astons but also have things like children and dogs and want to bring them along on trips. If you're a premium car manufacturer worth your salt, you don't simply make a big car that lots of people like and rest on your laurels. No, you modify it, you tweak it, you make it the fastest in the world. This has two side effects. The first being that all the other posh SUVs out there look a bit slow. And the second is that all the people that own the posh SUVs that aren't this will feel a bit behind the times. How's Aston managed it here? The DBX's 4-litre turbocharged V8 has been given, well, I'm sure you can guess how many horsepower, but in real terms 697 brake horsepower and 664 pound-foot. This means 0 to 62 miles an hour takes 3.3 seconds, 0 to 100 miles an hour takes 7.4 seconds. It's managed all that grunt thanks to fresh turbos, a revised engine calibration and a tweaked induction system, and probably some sort of deity in the crankcase. There's a new 40% quicker 9-speed automatic gearbox too, one that can take all that torque and turn it into forward motion without, exploding. Now you might think that all the big changes are just to the motor, all under the hood, but that's not true. For example, with the air suspension, the front has been stiffened to help steering response while the rear has been softened to aid traction. There's new dampers all round to find that delicate mix between comfort and handling, and basically this is the kind of car that's designed to fire you to the horizon. Then when you get there, you can do the world's fastest U-turn perfectly and flawlessly, and then fire yourself back to where you came from. When you get bored of herring round like something's on fire though, hidden behind its P0 shod 23-inch alloys is a set of beefy carbon ceramic brakes. Now those serve two purposes. One, so you can stop all betterer, and two, to save 41 kilos of unsprung mass. On top of all of that, the rear diff's been strengthened, the central diff's been recalibrated, the single-piece carbon prop has been shortened and thickened, the rear track's been widened, and the steering's been retuned too. Aston's designers have obviously fiddled with the look just a touch. I mean, you can't miss its grille. It's massive. The whole car looks more aggressive, more angry, more intimidating. And with the grille, that's part of the function, of course, but also it needs to be bigger because it turns out if your V8 produces 700 horsepower, it needs some cooling. So yeah, that's functional, but also epically big. The sides, again, more aggressive, and the rear, I mean, just look at that diffuser. Look at it! It's ridiculous! The engineers, the aerodynamicists, have also played with the aero, because if you're going to be doing nearly 200 miles an hour in a car like this, you do rather want it to stay neutral. You don't want any lift. You don't want to take off. It's a car, not a plane. The interior's been given a minor going over too. Fresh sports seats, a new drive select wheel, and new buttons to adjust gearbox, damper, manual mode, and traction things. It's a lot less fussy and far slicker than the normal car. Switching mode should be quick and easy in something like this, so it's a change for good. Well, doesn't it all sound jolly? Aston Martin's played with its car and made the fastest SUV in the world. In all seriousness, this thing is going to take lap records all over the place. You just know it. You're going to hear about it over and over and over and over again. But also, it's going to make ultra-wealthy people's pub chat of whose car's the fastest just a little bit more interesting. For a while at least. Until the next fastest SUV in the world comes along. All these changes sound great, but it's all for nothing if they're rubbish. I mean, doing nearly 200 miles an hour is great in theory, but if you have to cling on for dear life, that doesn't sound like fun at all to me. So, what is she like? The original DBX is a beautifully smooth flowing car. Its power doesn't overwhelm it. It's sort of elegant-ish. It's a good time. This is another level though. It is so different. The inside, I really like what they've done in here. There aren't so many buttons everywhere, and the drive select dial thing, that's just great, and it's easy to turn your exhaust on so you can make it loud and shouty like this. On the handling front, whatever they've done, whatever the magicians at Aston Martin have managed to do, this thing hides its weight so well. I want to talk about power delivery because it's stupid. God Lord! It's so much power and it's delivered really beautifully. I mean, you are pushed back in your seat and you do kind of feel physics and gravity working against you, but there's no wheel spin, there's no chirping of the tyres or anything like that. You're just thrown forward, which in a DBS or a 911 or anything that's a sports car would feel absolutely natural. This is not that. This is a big hippo of a car. It's ridiculous. Cars like this shouldn't exist because why? Why do you need all this power? Why do you need all this torque? The answer is because it's fun. It's really fun. You get a great noise with it, it puts a big silly smile on your face, and yes, it handles well. It handles really well, especially when you consider you're really high off the ground and it's a massive heavy SUV. It's a hugely entertaining car. There is one quite glaring flaw with it, other than the fact it's very expensive and some people won't like it. As a B-road blast kind of car, I don't think it'll be very good. Not because it handles badly, it doesn't. Not because it's too big, I mean it is a bit wide, it does feel like quite a big car, but because it's simply too fast. Because you get out of one corner and you go, there's another corner over there. You put your foot down and by the time your foot has reached the floor, you're already at the apex and you've got to brake heavily again. But you spend all your time going, because it's that punishingly quick. What about that change I was talking about? Well, traditionally, Astons weren't necessarily the fastest, they weren't the most resolved, but they were the most stylish way to get around. They weren't gauche and pointy like a Lamborghini or apex hunters like a Porsche. The Aston may have come second, but it did so with class. Now though, a 700-odd horsepower SUV is something that would have been quite unseemly to many Aston customers just 5 years ago. It's not in any way subtle, nor does it pretend to be. It's not quiet and it's not that fussed with being elegant. I mean, look at it. Really look. It's not a shrinking violet. This may dismay Aston customers of yore, but while we hear ever so slightly on the horizon the sound of monocles hitting china teacups and gentle blasphemy falling from jowls, you have to remember one thing. Aston Martin's no longer your granddad's brand. It's not like the Aston Martins of old. People at this end of the market want big, fast, flashy SUVs, and they want them to be about as subtle as a brick. Aston Martin is becoming a properly sporting manufacturer. Its lineup is becoming all angles and aggression and noise. The days of quiet confidence are gone. Now it's time for a step change. One that it's probably needed for a long while. Let Bentley and Rolls sort the understated luxury. Aston can bring some noise. A few years ago, it would be impossible to imagine Aston Martin making something like this, something big and silly and ridiculous. But the thing is, it's changing, it's evolving, it wants to be more sporting. It's no longer good enough to be second but with class, instead it wants to be first. And to do that, it needs to build cars like that. The good thing is, I like big silly cars, and I very much like the DBX707. Internet, me again. We're filming the DBX707 right now, but hopefully you enjoyed my thoughts on it. Seeing as you've watched one video about a fast SUV, why not watch another one? How about a Range Rover or a Bentley Bentayga? Check them out. As ever, don't forget to like, comment, let me know what you think, and subscribe. I'll see you soon. Bye!